Okay, let us now briefly discuss the CMOS process flow. This section is been taken from Rabe's book, section 2.2.4. Suppose this is the starting wafer that is given to us, which consists of P plus substrate with P epi layer. P epi layer as shown here, this epi layer means it is an epitaxial layer which has been grown on this P plus substrate. You know that substrate is always pretty thick, and this epitaxial layer or this epi layer is quite thin compared to that of this P plus substrate. But remember, this diagram is not in scale. So what would be the next step? So we have already the silicon wafer that is given to us. We need to form one oxide, which is obviously the silicon dioxide in case of silicon. So we will form one silicon dioxide layer which is pretty thin, and this silicon dioxide is grown, it's not deposited. Okay, this thin silicon dioxide on top of which. How? By thermal oxidation, as we have discussed earlier. After we have grown the silicon dioxide, the entire wafer is covered with silicon nitride. This silicon nitride is also called here the sacrificial nitride. Okay, this will be act as a buffer. This and this silicon nitride protects this underneath silicon dioxide from next process steps. So we have formed the oxide layer on top of this silicon. What do you think we should do next? Yes, you are right. We should create the NMOS as well as PMOS, means N channel MOS and P channel MOS. But we have to remember one thing, that is this N channel and P channel which will form on this wafer, they have to be electrically isolated from each other. How can we make them electrically isolated? Probably like this. So what we have done here, we have created the trenches as shown, you can see in this figure, by using dry plasma etching. Okay. So once we have created this region, and if you can form, suppose here one type of transistor, here another channel transistor, now you see between their channel there, there is a trench. So they are basically isolated from each other. To further improve the isolation between the adjacent devices, which is from this device to this device, as I can think of, another device is also here, from this device to this device, or from this device to the next device here. What we can do, we can use one implantation, as you can see here. So we will use one implantation of group 3 material, okay, so that this top surface layer of as shown in this region will now be changed from P type to P plus, means heavily doped P region. Okay, and how this implantation helps us in improving the isolation, that we will discuss in the next slide. So we have isolated our adjacent devices, right? But notice here, if you see the structure, this structure is non-planar. Okay, but we prefer the planar structure, that is the surface should be plane, because that will help us lying down our metal lines. There will be so many metal lines, right? So how can we make this structure planar? So obviously first we have to fill these trenches that we have created by this plasma etching, right? So how to fill? We have to fill by some dielectric. One easy way you can think of by filling it with silicon dioxide. So first we have to fill this total region by silicon dioxide. But even if you fill with silicon dioxide, suppose the top surface will look like something like this, right? So you have filled it, but the top surface has not become the planar again, right? The top surface is again, it's type of non-planar, right? So how can you make the top surface after depositing one silicon dioxide layer planar? Which technique you can use? Yes, you can use the CMP or chemical mechanical polishing right? We have discussed in the previous slides only. So once you fill these trenches with silicon dioxide and then apply the CMP, the structure will look like this. So you can see it here. These were the trenches where now this has been filled with the silicon dioxide. This is the silicon dioxide which is being used as an gate can be used as an gate dielectric. This is again this trench which has been filled with silicon dioxide. This is another trench which is filled with silicon dioxide. And below this silicon dioxide we have also used the channel stop implant, right, that we have discussed in the last slide. From this figure you can also compare to this silicon dioxide which will be used as a gate dielectric, the silicon dioxide which we have used here, right, or here, they are pretty thick, and this thick silicon dioxide will be used as an field oxide. And you know, on top of this field oxide, right, the metal line 1 that will be sitting, right, and some of the metal lines are also connected with the supply voltages. So if you consider this structure, now this is forming one parasitic metal oxide semiconductor structure, and you don't want the channel to be formed here, right, because if a channel is formed here, then that will impact the isolation between the transistor here and the transistor adjacent to it, right. So you want this parasitic MOSFET to be always off, right. So by making this silicon dioxide thicker, or to ensuring that the silicon dioxide is sufficiently thick, okay, we can say that this MOSFET will not turn on. Besides, you remember we have also used the channel stop implant under this field oxide, right. What it does, it increases the doping concentration of this P region. So what will happen to the threshold voltage of this MOSFET when you increase the doping concentration? The threshold voltage further increases, right. So that means the possibility of creating this channel further reduces. So that is how the channel stop implant improves the isolation between adjacent devices, right. I hope this part is clear to you, like how this field oxide together with this channel implant helps in isolating the adjacent devices. From this figure you can also see that after CMP we have removed the sacrificial nitride layer, right. You remember in the last slide there was a nitride layer here, there is a nitride layer here that we have removed. So using this process, so far we are able to isolate adjacent devices, right. And the regions, okay, like here and the region here where we will form our transistor, these regions are called the active areas, okay. So we have now the two active areas, right. So what next? Obviously we need to form this N channel and P channel transistor, right. Suppose we have to form, or on this active area, the P channel transistor. How can we make P channel transistor here? Because for making P channel the substrate should be of N type. So we need to create one N channel here, right, like this. So how can we create this N channel here? So we need to do an implantation of group 5 material or donors, so that this region now become N type, okay, and this N region is called the N well, right. And while doing so, we have to remember that this implantation should happen only in this region. So during this implantation, the other region should be protected, okay. So you can see here we have protected this region, we have also protected this region by using some buffer layer. And once then this N well is formed, right, we have to do one more implantation, and that is also we need to implant the same group 5 material here, but not to the entire N well, but only just under the gate. So we see here now we have protected the entire region, only opened the region where the gate is going to be placed. Now we do an implantation only through this region, so that only under the gate the doping gate change. Why we are doing so? That is because if you dope this region, the doping concentration will change, and the change in doping concentration will help us in adjusting the threshold voltage, right? So this second implant is called the threshold voltage adjustment implant, right? So the first implant which we form this N region, that is called the N well formation implant. The second implant by which we are changing the threshold voltage of this P channel MOSFET, that is called this threshold voltage adjustment implant. Fine. After this, using the similar process, we should also create this NP well by doing an implantation of group 3 materials or these acceptors, right? And while doing so, similar way we need to protect the other regions, like you can see this region is now been protected, as we have done for this P channel MOSFET, the threshold voltage adjustment implant using this type of marks, right? So similar thing we have to also do here. So this implantation, the second implantation of this acceptor, that will be used to adjust or tailoring the threshold voltage of this N channel MOSFET, right? So please remember these two implantations. The first implantation is for this P well, which will be done to the entire well, and the second implantation is the threshold voltage adjustment implant, which will be done just only under this gate region, as we have shown it for this P channel MOSFET, right? So now we have created both P well as well as N well. So what next? Always we need to form the polysilicon gate. Why polysilicon gate? Because for this CMOS technology we are planning to use the self-aligned technique, and you know, for self-aligned technique the gate should be made up of polysilicon. So we need to deposit polysilicon in the next step and make the gate. Let's see how. Here you can see the polysilicon gate, but how to make this polysilicon gate? First we need to deposit one blanket polysilicon, that is the polysilicon will be everywhere, right? And then pattern the polysilicon to form these two gates, and these polysilicon gates are sitting on this silicon dioxide, right? So do you remember the silicon dioxide? This is the silicon dioxide that we have pumped during our initial stages. So that silicon dioxide we are planning to use as our gate dielectric, right? But remember, this silicon dioxide has been exposed to this acceptor implantation here and donor implantation here. Remember that, right? If you are too much worried about the quality of this gate dielectric, then what you can do before depositing this polysilicon layer, you can remove this both silicon dioxide from this N well and P well and do one oxidation, right, to grow this thin gate dielectric, and then use the polysilicon. Whichever way you may follow, but at this stage the gate formation has been done, right? So we have P well, we have N well, and we have both gates made up with polysilicon. So what next? So we have gate, so obviously now we should form the source and drain, right? And in self-aligned technique, how to form source and drain? In self-aligned technique, you know, the source and drain, right, automatically gets aligned with respect to this gate. How? Because let us consider only for this N well. So where we are going to form the p channel transistor. Now if we implant the group 3 materials, okay, having heavy dose, because source and drain doping concentration has to be quite high, right, then what will happen? This is the channel region for this MOSFET. This channel region is now protected by this polysilicon. So there one p plus region will form on this side of this gate. Similarly, one p plus layer will form beside this gate, right. These two will form this drain and source respectively. But we need to remember one thing, that when we are implanting this group 3 material here for forming this drain and source, at that time the other region has to be protected, right. Only this region should be open. So when we have implanted group 3 materials, what will happen to this polysilicon? The polysilicon itself will get doped by what type? So p type, because we are doping it to source and drain side with p plus. So is it not, you will get something like this? So you have one p plus region that is formed to this side and another p plus region formed on this side, and the polysilicon will also gets doping with this p, become p type. This is the advantage of self-aligned technique, because if in the self-aligned technique you see source and drain, or whatever, source and drain are interchangeable. So the source and drain are forming or aligning automatically with respect to this gate, right. No additional alignment process is required, right. So with this process we have formed this p channel MOSFET. What about this n channel? That is similar, right. Similar process we need to apply here. So we need to implant group 5 material here, right, and with having a heavy dose, because this doping really has to be quite high. This is n plus. So this is here one n plus region will form, here also one n plus region will form, and similarly the polysilicon will now get doped to n type, right. So that's how we can form both n channel MOSFET and p channel MOSFET. So what's next? So we have formed this gate, source, drain, and for both n channel and p channel MOSFETs, right. So obviously now we have to take the contacts from this source and drain, because you see this source and drain, this region now is still covered with the silicon dioxide, but we have to remove this silicon dioxide and create metal contact here. Besides, we should also ensure the proper isolation between the metal lines that we are going to use in this process, and to ensure that we need to deposit one silicon dioxide layer first, okay, and then pattern it by using dry etching, okay, as shown here. While you are patterning or etching this silicon dioxide, this underneath thin silicon dioxide layer, that will also get etched, right. So now if you deposit a metal here, so you can see that will create a contact with either source and drain. Same thing for this as well as this. So what next? Obviously we need to deposit metal. So first we have to deposit metal entirely, right, and then pattern the metal accordingly. Let's check how does it look like. So you see here, these are the metal lines, or this metal that we have deposited all over, and then make a pattern of it, right. You see, first initially it was everywhere continuous, and then we have etched the metal from this region and this region, and this is the underneath layer, that was the silicon dioxide that we have deposited, right, and this was the silicon dioxide that we have used to fill this trench. You remember all this process, right? So for this particular example, we wanted to show the fabrication process of CMOS inverter. So you can see here, this is the PMOS, right? This for this PMOS, this is the source. So this metal should be now connected with the drain. This is the drain of this PMOS, this is the drain of this NMOS, and both of them should be connected. You see, they are connected, and this is the source terminal of NMOS, and that should be connected with the ground. And with this step, the basic fabrication process of a CMOS inverter is complete. But this is only a simple CMOS inverter, and suppose if you want to use this CMOS inverter as a part of the complicated circuit, then only one metal line or this metal line 1 is not sufficient. Then we have to go for multiple metal lines. Let us show one more metal line, how to use another metal line and connect it with this metal line 1. So you can see it here. So this is metal line 1, right? And then we have deposited one more silicon dioxide layer, and then create this vias, and then deposited another metal and patterned it. By saying this vias, what we mean that we deposit any dielectric, create a dry etching and open a passage through this dielectric, that is called this vias in simple terms. Okay. I hope this is clear to you, right? If there is metal line 3, then it will be above, and again one more silicon dioxide layer and then metal line and connected via vias. This cross-sectional diagram clearly shows the connection between PMOS and NMOS between their source and drain terminals. But what about the gate terminals? Because if it is an inverter, then the gates are also has to be connected. That probably we can show from the 3D view. So we can see from here, this is the polysilicon gate, this is the gate oxide. Similarly, this is the polysilicon gate, this is the gate oxide, and this is N channel MOSFET, this is P channel MOSFET. So there you can see here the polysilicon gates are connected, right? You can also see the field oxide, the presence of field oxide here, that is quite thick compared to the thickness of this gate dielectric. You can also see how the drains are connected between this PMOS and NMOS, and the metal line will run over this field oxide. But I think you have noticed that this CMOS inverter and this CMOS inverter has not gone through the same process, because if you see for this process, here we have used both N-well as well as P-well. So both N-well and P-well. So this type of process is called the dual well, right? But if you see for this structure here, we have only used this N-well, right? There is no P-well. So that is one difference, right? Here only N-well we have used. Another difference is the isolation process that has been used for fabricating this CMOS inverter. For this particular case, we have used the trenches, right, and then filled with silicon dioxide to isolate these P and N channel devices, right? So this type of isolation is called the shallow trench isolation, or STI, shallow trench isolation. However, if you see for this case, we have used the LOCOS. You remember the LOCOS process that we have discussed earlier? LOCOS is the local oxidation of silicon that is being used to isolate this N channel and P channel devices, right? So as we have used LOCOS here, so you can clearly see that Bird's beak, remember that Bird's beak issue in case of LOCOS, that is present here. However, for this case it is not present. So this is another difference. Now there is one more difference, that is, if you can see here, here we have created one N plus contact. What is this contact for? Yes, this is the body contact, right? that body contact is absent here, right? So that is another difference. So I hope now you should be able to draw the CMOS process flows considering this type of variation. For example, considering only N well region or only P well region or this dual well, as well as creating the body contacts, okay, or for example here it has been shown N plus. Similarly, you can create here P plus for creating a contact to this body, right? In this context, I would also like to mention that here we have only shown two metal lines, right? Metal line 1 and metal line 2. But in modern CMOS process flow, there can be as many as 6 to 7 metal lines, as you can see here. Okay. So this is also one inverter. Here you can see one NMOS and this PMOS, they are connected accordingly, see. And it is also clear that compared to the thickness of all the metal lines, the thickness of this CMOS structure is quite small, right? And in modern CMOS process flow, we don't use silicon dioxide between two consecutive metal lines. To reduce the capacitance between the metal lines, we use low K dielectric. So all this dielectric that you can see here, low K means their dielectric constant is quite low, so that we can reduce the capacitance between these metal lines. Also, in your book, even though it is mentioned as aluminum as the metal layer, aluminum is not being used in modern CMOS process flow. And with this, I think we have come to the end of this presentation, and I would like to thank you for your attention.